Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jim Kleiber Show. Today is November 13th. It's a Friday, 2020, and the weekend is just about here. We donated a few things to the thrift store today, and sometimes I think it's a sad moment. I can feel refreshed to let some of these things go, but also quite sad. I mean, some of the things we donated were the football cleats that I used when I was in high school, or the basketball shoes that I used when I was in high school, or the soccer cleats that I used when I was in high school. It's just memories, I just remember, especially for the football cleats. Like, I remember going to football practice and tying those laces and having to get new laces when they'd break, and just over and over again, replacing the cleats on the bottom. So just, I think it's amazing sometimes, or it amazes me sometimes how much we can attach memories to specific objects and places. We pick up that object, and so many things flood back into our memories. We're reminded of when we scored that touchdown, or when we got hit really hard, or when we're sweating really hard at that practice, or when it was raining really hard that one day when, a lot of teams used to play on real grass, not this artificial turf, getting lost in the mud. I was talking with a friend about this the other day, where I went to the middle school where I grew up, and I was seeing an old friend. It was like my old friend's little sister, actually. Somebody I used to know when I was in middle school, really. So probably when I was like 12, 11. Met him through playing baseball, and so used to hang out with him all summer, and then hang out with his little sister. And anyways, I went over there to meet up with her in the park because she lives in the neighborhood and she has kids now. And I was over at the old middle school on the old football field, which used to be the old soccer field for me back in the day. And it's a place where I used to play soccer when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And just to play soccer with that little kid, it brought me back immediately to that place. Remembering walking through on the sidewalk with my cleats, and I would get mud stuck on the cleats, and so I'd stomp them down to try to get the mud off the cleats on the sidewalk. And oh, just remember, it used to seem so far away. But now I just walk there all the time. Yeah, I guess, sometimes there's a lot of emotions when we lose things and we let go of things, especially things that, again, we've had so many memories with them. And I'm talking about shoes here, or going to a location that's now changed, right? So the middle school tore down the tennis court, and I used to play tennis there a lot, but I used to play street hockey there even more. And they just tore it down. And so all those memories just kind of disappearing with the disappearance of that place. I mean, the memories are still there, but they don't get jogged so easily. And I think that happens to us so much in life, but not just with things, but also with people. People gone, and we still have the memories inside, but sometimes the memories don't we don't recall them so quickly. Sometimes you can just see a person and you go, oh, I remember this and this and this. Oh gosh, what about that time? Oh, and this time. Sometimes you don't even have to see the person. You can just hear the voice and you go, oh yeah, I remember when this. Oh goodness. Yeah, the memories can flood back. So I think in a time like this, where many of us are losing people to death, to COVID-19, or losing, just haven't seen people in a very long time because of COVID-19, where, gosh, and maybe I've seen some people on the internet or on the phone, or heard some people on the phone, but it's not like when I was seeing him in person, Even simple thing like the bar I used to go to, like, man, I miss seeing some of those same people at the bar, and it reminds me of what happened at Halloween, or it reminds me of what happened at, this moment and that moment, and the different conversations we've had. So even, it's even with strangers or pseudo strangers, right? The people that we know but don't know. I just, but it's not. Sometimes when we lose somebody, we think it's always just going to be sadness. But sometimes there's a lot of other emotions that come with losing somebody or something. So talking about losing and letting go of these shoes, I mean, yeah, there's sadness that I'm letting go of part of my past, that I'm not holding on to something that I could show potential future kids, or, just to kind of relive the past of being an athlete, and to even maybe use them again in the future. So there's the sadness there. There's nostalgia there. There's also a little more freedom or relief. The garage is getting a little more clean, or there's a little less clutter around the house, or maybe even hope. Okay, maybe somebody will actually use these, not just theoretically use them or potentially use them hypothetically, but actually use them right now. Maybe there's a kid out there whose feet are growing really fast and needs new shoes, wants to try out football but doesn't have the right shoes and doesn't want to go out and spend a lot of money. Perhaps they can find them. Or somebody who's, been looking for some old school basketball shoes. I mean, old school. They're probably 15 years old. So maybe somebody's kind of collecting them and is just looking for that exact pair. Who knows? Whereas here, it's not really getting that much value. So maybe excitement that somebody could find it and put it to good use. Maybe hope that it'll find a right match. Yeah, just kind of relief that there's more space here to move and operate. And maybe in that empty space, something new can come. At the end of the day, as much as I want to believe that life is infinite, life is finite. We are born and we die, and we only have so much space in our house or our apartment, almost only so much space on the land, only so much space and time in the day. So sometimes having fewer things and letting go of these things can free up the space for us to welcome new things, or just move more freely. I wonder how this applies politically. I think I still feel the draw to pull it back into politics or into society. I think in a way, many people are, like, let's speak for myself. I'm excited that Trump will not be the president anymore. I'm also a bit sad that he probably won't be in the spotlight. It's a weird thing to say. Like, I don't like him running the country, and at the same time, there's this weird attraction's not the right word, connection with someone who can be really annoying sometimes. And it reminds me of, a distant relative I have that so many people in the family would talk negatively about. Oh my God, can you believe he did this? Can you believe he did this? Can you believe he doesn't care about his mother? Can you believe he did this and this and this? But everyone seemed to talk about him all the time. And he passed away a couple years ago, and I felt really sad. It was this, again, weird connection to someone that seemed to bother us so much, but was kind of sweet in his own way. And I kind of feel a similar way towards Trump, that I don't wish him ill. I like the guy. I just don't like him being president. I don't like him having control over what's happening in the country and what's happening in my life. But I think he is, I like him in a weird way, like, and so part of me is sad that he's going to leave the public eye. Part of me is really excited for what that space could open up as I see Biden filling in his team and bringing more people to the forefront, especially that could hopefully help with this COVID-19 situation. It is bad here in the United States. For those overseas, or overseas, I think it's a phrase that we use in the U.S. to talk about people in other countries, because most countries are on the opposite side of a sea from us, or an ocean. But I think people in other countries may not recognize just the strife that we're going through here in the U.S. I think most hospitals are quite close to capacity across the nation. I was looking at a chart the other day, and it said that there's like a 17% chance, or maybe even more. If I go to an event of a size 10 here in Michigan, there's like a 17% chance that somebody will be COVID positive there. It's just, in some counties, at a size event of 10 people, the chance is like 99% that there will be at least one person there who is currently positive with COVID-19. And this is a random sampling of people. I can't imagine the pain and the fear and the sleeplessness and the stress that so many hospital workers are going through right now. Healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, administration, EMTs, even firefighters and people tangentially. Yeah. So, in a way, I think sometimes we compare our suffering to others and we say, oh, but what they're going through is really bad, so what I'm going through doesn't really count. People are dealing with losing relatives to death and not being able to celebrate them at a funeral and to mourn their loss. And here I am talking about letting go of shoes. Sometimes it seems so frivolous, and so people say, oh, you're arrogant or entitled, or you're like, and these are things that we can say to ourselves. I know I say it to myself sometime all the time. Just this idea of like, why are you so upset about that? Why are you so angry about that? It's such a little thing in the scheme of life, and other people have it much worse than you do. But when I say that to myself, it doesn't help me feel better. Like I don't feel, when I'm feeling sad or stressed about letting go of some of my childhood things, when I say to myself, oh, we know there are people dying and there are people who are in situations of war, and it doesn't make me necessarily feel, relieved. Oh, okay. Like my suffering doesn't matter. I feel angry and frustrated sometimes because we all feel things, and whether we want to or not. I don't know. How are you feeling these days? How are you sleeping? You sleeping well? Sleeping enough? Going to bed early? You're going to bed late. You're waking up early? You're waking up late. Do you sleep soundly? Do you try to solve problems in your sleep? Are you having a lot of dreams, a lot of nightmares? How are your relationships with other people? Are you feeling connected with people or distant? Yeah. Earlier today, I was feeling really stressed out about letting go of these things. Again, it seems so minuscule, but it really, really impacted me in some way, because I think it reminds me of other things. And, I think letting go of certain things isn't so much about the thing. It's about the bigger concept, the memory. So letting go of this, the soccer shoes and those things reminds me of how, I had feet trouble later on, in my early 20s, and that those shoes don't fit anymore. And they're not comfortable. It reminds me that I'm not as athletic as I used to be. It reminds me that I'm growing older and I don't have kids, and I don't have kids to give them to. It reminds me that my parents are growing older, and they don't have grandkids for me to give them to. It reminds me that my parents are growing older and their health is more precarious. It reminds me of so much, and so it's not just the shoe. It's often so many memories and thoughts and experiences and feelings associated with it that could be going. So after, the truck came to pick up the donations, I went back and took a nap, and I really focused on just not focusing. I just zoned out. And I think sometimes I can feel really guilty for zoning out. Back in the day before cell phones, especially, you go to the dentist or the doctor and you sit in the waiting room and you just zone out. You just kind of stare at the wall or just kind of stare into space. Same thing with driving a car. Maybe you had the song on, but still the song was playing and you just zone out. Or you were at some event and somebody was speaking or there was a transition, you just zone out, or the commercial would come on TV and you just zone out. But nowadays I find I will often grab my phone and not zone out, but almost focus even more on something else. So I'll focus on a conversation, or I'll focus on an article, or I'll focus on some tweets, or I'll focus on this or that, focus on some pictures, or focus on, some video that I'm watching. So it's like, I don't have a lot of these moments where I just pause and stare off into space. Do you? Do you zone out anymore? Or is zoning out like a thing of the past? I don't know. I think I can feel so guilty sometimes for zoning out, because I feel guilty that I'm not being quote unquote productive. And I remember reading somewhere talking about fitness and physical health, and they say, to gain muscle, it's about the exercise, but it's also about the rest, and that we tear the muscle as we're exercising, but then we need to rest so that muscle can repair itself and grow stronger. And I wonder how much of our kind of mental and emotional well-being relies on that as well. We go all the time. I find sometimes I'm even going when I'm sleeping. Like I'm having a dream that relates to something I'm doing with work or some struggle I'm having with in life, again, intellectually or emotionally. And then I wake up and I start working on it again instead of resting. Like, when do I just zone out and rest? I think zoning out has that feature of just not trying to focus, not trying to solve a problem, not trying to predict what's happening in the future, not even trying to be aware of my current surroundings, but really just be there and nowhere at the same time. It's like, it's not even about being here, it's about being nowhere. It's kind of, I remember reading a while ago that there was a competition, I think in Japan, because I think Japan has a lot of these kind of strange competitions. But I think there was a competition for who could zone out for the longest. I thought that was fascinating. To have a zone out competition to see who could really just, maybe it was zone out or space out. I don't know. It's I think what a fascinating competition. And I wonder how much we're missing that in life. I've talked before, I think, on the show about how I think we are very yawn deprived, like, at least speaking for myself, but I imagine other people as well. We don't yawn as much as we probably should. I think we probably don't space out or zone out as much as we should anymore. And I wonder what toll that takes on our bodies. So that's the challenge, going in and taking a nap about zoning out and spacing out, and then trying to come in and do this podcast while I still want to zone out and space out. How do I have somewhat of a coherent message while I am trying to not be coherent? I do notice that I'm laughing a lot and smiling a lot more. So maybe there is something to this. There's a certain relaxation in just weirdly, like kind of zoning out is melting into the environment, but not, but just, I don't know. Maybe it's a lack of prediction. Maybe it's a lack of focus. Maybe it's a lack of, I don't know. I don't know what zoning out really is. Try it. See what happens. But I'm smiling and laughing a lot more. Perhaps it's related to that. I don't think it's related to the beard. I chopped the beard off quite significantly yesterday. As I'm looking on the screen, it doesn't look as even as I thought it was in the mirror. Turns out maybe my face is not that even. but beards are a lot of work. Goodness. Yeah, this one looks longer than this side. The right side looks longer than the left side. Most people who have beards don't seem to boast about how much work they are. They just have nice beards. And people go, wow, the beard's so nice. And they don't say, well, you don't understand how much time I put into this beard and how much product I put into this beard. Oh, I even blow dry it sometimes. Oh, no, I think we just look at people looking nice, and we go, oh, okay, they look nice. Wow, they must do that so easily. No, people put a lot of effort into their look. Yeah. Zoning out. What if we just took a weekend? What if we all took one day to really just zone out, to turn off the phones, to turn off the computers, to really just collectively zone out? Is that something we can do when we have kids running around? Or is this kind of a privilege of somebody who is not married with no kids? Can we zone out together? Or does one person try to, always pull us back into conversation or back into focus? What does a collective zone out look like? Is that what Vipassana meditation is, where people go for 10 days and don't speak at all? I don't think so. I think there's a lot of focus there. I think it's a lot of focus on the breath and a lot of focus on even like visual focus and things like this. Maybe I'm just getting it wrong, but I wonder what parts of society actively encourage us to just zone out, just space out. Maybe that's why a lot of people use marijuana, because it forces them to space out. You can see somebody who's stoned and they're just like, they just, the eyes wide open, just kind of looking into one spot, and the jaw maybe drops and just kind of, Oh man. When was the last time you zoned out? Do you like it when people zone out around you, or do you get frustrated? Does it ever happen to you at work where you're zoning out and you're not supposed to? Maybe that's it. Maybe the problem is sometimes we zone out when we're supposed to be focused, and other people get angry at us. And then we get angry at ourselves for not being focused. It's almost this hyper alert thing. I don't know, for me, I wonder why I don't zone out at night. I was wondering if it goes back to when I lived in Tanzania. And I slept with a mosquito net, but the mosquito net was very close to my body, so it didn't help too much. And I got bit so many times by mosquitoes. And so I think there was a part of me that, like, when sleeping, was on high alert to try to be as quick as possible to clap and smack a mosquito if it were anywhere near me. I think that's one of the reasons. I think there's probably many reasons, but I think that's one reason I'm like, I can't zone out. If I zone out, I'm going to get eaten by a mosquito, get bit by a mosquito, and then they're going to give me a malaria, and then I'm done. I got malaria a few times. It sucked. Yeah. What holds you back from zoning out? Is it the phone? Is it some thoughts about a relationship? Is it some thoughts about something in the past, something in the future? Did you get yelled at for zoning out when you were a kid in class? Teachers yelling at you, oh, pay attention. Did they put you on drugs because you kept zoning out? Or, did they give you some medicine for what they were calling ADHD, which maybe you had or maybe you didn't? Did they You fall asleep in class and they try to wake you up and force you awake. Does this happen at work? Or you'll be on a call and you kind of space out in the call, and then people, you'll get in trouble, or you get fired, or you'll get people will make fun of you. Maybe other cultures are more accepting of this. Maybe I'm just assuming that this is a thing that's not very acceptable around the world. I don't know. I'm curious to learn. So if you know of any cultures that seem to not only accept but prioritize this idea of spacing out or zoning out to almost recover and rest emotionally and intellectually, please let me know. I would love to know. I might really want to visit that culture. Sometimes, we could try to enforce these things on ourselves, but we are products of our environment, and we can try very hard to change how we react to the environment and how we are in the environment. But sometimes culture and nature just says, nope, this is how you're going to behave. What's the culture that spaces out the most and accepts it, celebrates it? Maybe there's a day, maybe there's a holiday for just spacing out. That would be interesting. So for any of those listening in currently and for those in the future, I am giving you permission to just space out. Just go stare at a wall, or go stare at a bird, or just go stare off into space. Just no thoughts. Let your jaw drop. Just your whole face can get droopy. Just kind of eyes get big. Just do what you got to do to zone out, space out. And it's okay. You're not being lazy. You're doing what you need to do to recover. You're taking care of yourself by spacing out, by zoning out. Makes sense? I hope so. I'm going to go try that, because you know what? I think I need that today. I think it's about balance, and sometimes we just need to balance the focus with the non-focus. So hope you all have a good weekend. Hope you all do what you think you need to do for your body, what you want to do for your body, and for the relationships in your life. And take care, y'all.